Thank you guys for joining us here on this Tuesday. I'll be honest, I was a late-minute ad to moderate this, but when Rachel Scoggins calls, I answer, good friend of mine. But more importantly, I'm fascinated with NIL. I worked at Longhorn Network and covered college football, and then now, of course, I'm in the NFL, which is all about monetizing an athlete's talents. And so this is a new landscape we've seen sort of here in recent years, coaches leaving the game, frustrated with it. Obviously, it's something that's still finding its way. That's why I'm so fascinated with this platform that is providing athletes an opportunity to monetize their talents, but also it's a professional development for them. So if you guys don't mind, we have got an incredible panel here today. We'll start with the founder of Influxer, bringing him in. This is Tyler Jaynes, who, as you guys are going to learn, talk about having a great idea at the right time. But getting to know him and his background, absolutely fascinating. I think it's important to also bring in the student athlete. And what I love about this guy, Jonathan McGill, not only is he a captain of your SMU football team and had the big interception this weekend. Jonathan, come on and join us. But Jonathan has a background having played 4 years at Stanford where NIL was not a possibility. And then obviously to have that sort of idea of what it looks like here. So I think he's going to give us a great perspective today. And then this man needs no introduction, folks. Yep, turn the cameras that way. It is Eric Dickerson, SMU running back, Hall of Famer. And as we joked in the lobby, if you want to talk about NIL, this is the guy to talk to. Clearly his phone's been ringing a lot in the last 3 years. Eric, yes. Great to have you here.
Thank you, thank you.
Did you ever think that there would be a time where you would be back at SMU after the dreaded death penalty, and we're talking about paying athletes?
That's a great question. No, I didn't. I got to say, I've always thought athletes should get paid. I really have. And I think people have this misconception that if you get paid in college, you're going to play harder. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work like that. You're going to play harder no matter what. I forgot, matter of fact, my old general manager at the Rams, he would say, athletes are like horses. If you open the gate, they're going to run. In a sense, athletes are going to play hard no matter what. You put them on the field, we're going to play. You know, you could be mad about your contract, but you're still going to play because you feel an obligation to the guy next to you. But am I glad to be here talking about it? Yes, because I've always felt that it was unfair for athletes to play a sport and not get anything. I mean, kids got, suspended for taking tennis shoes, taking a meal, taking a girl out to dinner because somebody gave them $50. I just thought it was wrong. But in NCAA, they can make millions and billions, but it was cool. So. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of NCAA. I mean, I actually hate them. So,
see, you're going to get nothing but transparency and authenticity at today's sit down. Tyler, I am fascinated with this platform that you've come up with because you were a student athlete yourself at Baylor. Talk to me about the gap in the marketplace you saw, not only from a businessman, but also from an athlete yourself and some of those blind spots. Because one of the big pushbacks when I was covering college football was fans would say, well, they're getting a free scholarship. They're getting books. They're getting an opportunity to monetize that after school. Why is that not the answer as someone who has a lot of these commitments as an athlete, but is also on campus? And I mean, at the end of the day, you guys need to eat.
Yeah, so we've taken an approach at Influxer that NIL is for all student athletes. It doesn't matter if you're a Power 5 football player, D3, bass fisherman, whatever it is. I believe that every single athlete, and I'm a former student athlete myself, played football at Baylor from 2014 to 2017. I was not Eric Dickerson, do not look up my stats. I was a walk-on, had to, earn my way there and earn my keep. But I remember seeing a lot of my teammates at Baylor that struggled. They had to you get a $1,200 monthly stipend check. $600 goes home, the other $600 towards rent, kind of leaving you with nothing, and you have practice, film, studies, classes. And if you're a student athlete, the common misconception about the whole free education is you don't have time to do an engineering degree. You don't have time to, go study for your PhD while also studying all these classes. I mean, maybe John, he went to Stanford, might be a different category here, but for the most part, athletes don't have time to really put a lot of focus. And so being a former student athlete and thinking about people like myself that came from, blue collar towns in Texas, and I have a family, I have friends, I have a support system. There's 600,000 student athletes that also have the same friends and support system. So NIL should be equitable and should be for everybody.
Jonathan, I love the fact that you have had this point of view of being at Stanford for 4 years where they didn't have NIL, and then to be able to come here. And as you and I talked before this collective, whereas to your point, you may not be the captain of the team. You may not be the guy that's getting the interception. Congratulations last weekend. But you're still benefiting as a result of it. What have you seen has been some of the advantages coming here and having NIL, and more importantly, the advantages to guys who aren't starters on the team?
Yeah, I would say for myself, kind of being able to come here was like kind of being able to legit just see a whole bunch of opportunities. I would say that when I first got an NIL deal, like my very first one, like I was very excited because it was with like a local restaurant. And so like I ended up getting like a hookup on, X amount of dollars every month. And I just got a post that I'm eating a burger, right? So I'm like, oh, like that's easy. And so for me, like, NIL to me was not necessarily like just getting, an abundance of money like cash, right? But more of exchange of goods, whether that was meals, whether that was getting an opportunity to go to an internship or a mentorship and get a dinner with, an alumni or somebody that wants to pour back into you. And those were some opportunities where I was previously to where we necessarily didn't dive into it as much as we do here with the Boulevard Collective that we have and the Pony Sports DTX Collective that we have. And so I think that there's a lot of advantages. Like student athletes are, the dining hall is great, and you don't always just want to eat dining hall food. And so sometimes having the ability to go off campus and get, a hookup with some food or, local, clothing brands and stuff like that is something that just makes the whole athlete experience a lot better.
I love that, and I want to drill down on that a little bit because I do think that one of the biggest pushbacks with the NIL is, oh, well, they're making all this money, but look what we're giving them. To even see your generation of students being able to monetize just their Instagrams to get access to certain things, I mean, it does seem like that can be frustrating too. I remember being in college and having a job and an internship, and it's a lot to juggle. How much has this made your lives easier at times?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of benefits to it in terms of actually being able to kind of start your brand before you even get to the National Football League or whatever your next stage is, of already building an audience, engaging an audience, and also kind of figuring out who you are and what your niche is marketing wise. So if that's, a lot of, quarterbacks in collegiate space or, have the national brands, the Subways, the, Lululemon, like whatever the case may be. And then you got guys now that can find and pick and choose. We had, I think a couple walk-ons that actually have deals themselves, right? So they're finding a way to find their own market in this new space. And so I think that it gives a lot of advantages. I think it gives you a push start to honestly making decisions for future references as well.
How nerve-wracking was it when you guys were at Stanford? To your point, I mean, I remember Des Bryant got in trouble just for having dinner with Dion once. Do you have to be so mindful of everything that you're doing in college, worried that you're going to get yourself in trouble with compliance?
Yeah, I think we have some compliance people in the back. Yeah, shout out Ryan. So I got to be careful. But I would say definitely just you always had to run things by compliance. You kind of also didn't want to say yes to everything just because you didn't know whether that gray area, you don't want to exhaust any eligibility or do anything the wrong way. And so kind of just having to be mindful and not be able to just jump and say, oh, yes, like I would love to, learn more about your, business or learn more about your company over dinner, where it's like you kind of have to do it over like a Zoom or a phone call or something like that. And so also, seeing, other schools participate and get these collectives and stuff wasn't very fun to see. But I would say Stanford does have a collective now and they're, taking place in it, but it kind of took them a little bit longer to dive into the space.
Jane, if I might.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to just point out to everybody is that he has not once talked about money. NIL is not just about making money. right? It's about providing these business development opportunities, professional development, internships, building relationships with brands that may end up employing you in the future. So that's a common misconception that I hope we can help break that narrative of as well.
As a young entrepreneur yourself, was that part of the vision when, because you and I were also talking about this opportunity that, the restaurant, maybe that's something after college you might want to franchise a restaurant, or you might want to work in their marketing team, or it's putting you in touch with people in the business community that maybe you hadn't already connected with. Has that been sort of the experience that some of you and some of your friends have had?
100%. I know on firsthand, I had a player I played with at Stanford who got an internship with Tesla and ended up killing it with Tesla and ended up pretty much, now he's in the WWE. And so he did an internship with the WWE through NIL. He was one of the first athletes in that WWE class. Now he's legit one of the marketable faces in their, younger franchise. He's doing that. And so he's just doing that for fun. Like, he's just having a great time, and he got that because of NIL. And now, whenever he's done with that, he has another internship with Tesla that he can just dive into and start working with Tesla. And so it's given a lot of people opportunities out after they're done playing football if you do it the right way, if you have the conversations, if you actually take time to meet people and learn about people and really just try to build relationships.
Resume building.
Eric, what did you think when you heard of Influxer and this platform and the opportunity to reach out to these players a little bit more organically than going through agents that so many athletes, I think, were used to early on in their careers?
Well, I'd never heard of Influxer. And until I met my man here last night. I didn't know what it was. And then we sit down and we talked about it, explained it to me. I said, man, this is fantastic. It really is, because like he just said, the young man, John, he didn't talk about the money. It was not, it's other things. And by the way, I want to say, man, thank you. You don't understand how proud the Mustangs have made guys like me and all the other guys. So thank you. So I appreciate it. And great interception last week.
Appreciate it.
I saw it. I was watching. But yes, I think that's the important thing. See, they always talk about the money. Look, money's important. Don't get me wrong. I can say the thing is that a lot of these guys, the thing I like about it, it gives them a way to make something in college. Because when we came out of college, honestly, it's just not like the NFL now. I had no idea. When I was a junior, I didn't know I was going to go to play in the pro football. When I was a senior, I still didn't know. And where I found out is I went to my friend Harvey Armstrong, who played for the Eagles. He wanted me to come over and meet, I can't think of the running back's name, Wilbur Montgomery. I went over and I met Wilbur Montgomery. I'm like, damn, he's little. I'm like, man, I think I could play. I'm just thinking that. Harvey said, man, I just want to tell you that the NFL is talking about you. The Eagles asked me about you. I'm like, really? You don't want how big you are? Because they didn't have all this internet, how big you are, how fast you are. I'm like, really? And he said, you're going to probably be a #1 draft pick. I'm like, what's that? And so he explained, thank you. So I didn't even know. And then about 2 weeks later, that's when it started, people started coming and talking to me about, playing pro football. And the thing is that as an athlete, I'm going to tell you what my NIL deal was. Mm-hmm. You want to call it NIL deal? And when I was at SMU, I got $500 a month. That's what it was. That's no money. I'm trying to send some back to my mom. It really was nothing. And you think I played hard for $500 a month? No, I did not. I played because I loved it. I love the sport. And I see these people that talk about, the guys are getting too many, they're greedy and all that. It's not greed. I always feel like the NCAA has exploited these players for so long. Just so long. Think about all the money they made. They do all the work, and they make all the money, all the profit. I thought it was wrong from day one. But now, and another thing is, only 1% of players that play in college are going to go to the NFL.
I love that you hit on that.
Yeah, it's only, 2,500 NFL players. Now think about what is it, like 600,000 college players? You're not going to play in the national football. It don't work like that. It's a blessing from God and hard work. That's what gets you there. And luck. And sustainability. Because you may go play in the NFL, but the life of an NFL player is only 3 years.
And how much better to learn about money and managing it
right now
in college as opposed to your first exposure being at the NFL level.
You got that right, because I didn't even see. That's a great statement you made, because when I got there, I'm like, what is state taxes? Why they taking $10,000 for this? I mean, see, they'll learn the things we didn't know. You mean we didn't know? I didn't know they took taxes. I had no idea. That's my first experience of getting some real money. So I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing that he started this company, Influxer. I mean, it's fantastic. Like he was explaining it to me last night, and I was like, wow. I mean, this is fantastic.
It's kind of fascinating that there hasn't been more platforms that have seen the gap. And I mean, I think eventually, Tyler, you're going to start having a bunch of competition here. But he was just bringing up the resources. You guys also provide that to the athletes. Tell me about why that was important to you.
Well, knowledge is power. I mean, you got to provide these student athletes with education, how to navigate. We brought on, most of our team is former student athletes. My compliance officer that I had at Baylor, Keith Miller, is on our staff, on our team. Who better to help us navigate, help provide us the right resources, because that's also a concern with NIL, is that there's not a lot of companies there looking out for the player's best interest. Former student athlete. A lot of my team here are former student athletes. I mean, even the vendors we work with sometimes are often former student athletes. So we do things with the right intentions. And you got to provide them the education so you can provide them that financial literacy, because it's not just about the 4 years that they're in college, but it's about preparing them for the future.
What's fascinating to me is I've worked with hiring managers who love hiring student athletes because of the discipline, the ability to commit to things, the idea of teamwork. And you've already seen your company grow from what in 2020 to now?
From what?
From how many employees? We don't have to give the number out.
Well, yeah, so we started right when NIL passed. We're the only company, I think, that was built for NIL. A lot of companies, adapted to NIL, and that's great. I think athletes should have as many resources as possible. I'm glad the market is trending in the way that it is, and obviously the NIL industry is not perfect at the moment, but it's trending in the right direction. 5 years ago, players didn't get paid, but here we are. So, for us, it's been about, yes, capturing that growth and showing everybody that we are trying to democratize NIL with all the right resources, the right staff, good intentions, putting the student athletes first. And so we've been fortunate, and luck and timing can certainly play a role, but we've grown from, we launched our merchandise platform in January of 2023 last year. We've grown to almost 40,000 athletes on our platform, licensed with almost 500 schools, and work with almost 50 or 60 different sports teams, bass fishing, rifle. So, and they're all having sales and they're all having success. So it's just about providing that platform. So I think right place, right time. NIL, kids love it. Universities love it. It's a why not situation.
Let's drill it down for the people in the room that may not understand exactly. We keep saying platform.
Sure.
So what does the platform look like? What does it actually do?
Sure.
And how do you find a lot of these athletes to get them on there?
Absolutely. So it's a tech platform. So think of, LinkedIn or dating networks such as like Bumble or Fiverr. You can create a profile and instantly you'll have a online merchandise storefront customized just for yourself, as well as be discoverable by brands on our marketplace. So they have a portal, our app, Influxer app. Athletes can get their storefront live, and it'll have all of their merchandise, jerseys, hard goods, coasters, tumblers, gold chains, whatever it is. Players receive a portion of all of those royalties, majority of the profits. And on the flip side, they're now discoverable by brands on our marketplace platform. And then along the way, we're providing all sorts of educational newsletters, pop-ups, let them know about certain sales going on, all that stuff. So it's all it's able to grow. We need it to get to 100,000, 500,000 student athletes, and that's the goal.
What's been your experience on there, and how often do you have people reaching out to you, and do you promote it on your own social networks? Tell me how that works for the athlete.
Yeah, I would say from an athlete standpoint, it's very easy to just get set up on. I actually got recruited by McKinley, who's somewhere in here. She was talking to me about it a long time. I've known her since like high school. And so she recruited me, ended up wanting them to kind of make my clothing brand and things of that nature. I didn't have one. And so my mom's here, my brother's here. Usually like they'll bring I'll have like 15, 20 family members come to a game or friends, and they'll end up having all of my gear on.
Wow.
And all of that is, like he said, I'm getting a percentage of. And so they just put money in my pocket, which I love. But, yeah, really just it's very easy to get set up on. And so I think having the ability to actually have license, like it's legit gear from SMU. It's licensed through SMU. It's not you have to go on like some, website that's overseas and it's a knockoff brand or anything like that. Like it's a legit jersey. It's legit T-shirts. It's legit hoodies, like clothing. They even got chains on there and stuff like that.
So you can use the image and likeness of SMU and have their logo. Wow.
Yeah, and so I think that's probably the biggest thing, and what makes Influxer different is that it's really like great quality clothing.
How much money do you think you could have made when you were at SMU doing that, Eric?
Matter of fact, me and some guys were playing golf, and we said, man, we should sue the NCAA.
I mean, it worked for
see if we can get some of our money.
Reggie Bush was able to counter.
I mean, lots of money. But you know what? I mean, I'll say this because, other guys ask me about it. Are you bitter? Are you mad? I said, I am so happy for these guys. I said, because you got to understand, it was guys, even, let's go to National Football League. It was guys before me. Like I talked to Deacon Jones. He said his first contract was $75,000 a year. I said, so I'm that guy. I'm happy for these young players because, even 20 years from now, what Jonathan is making, it's going to be triple. He could be like, man, dang, they doing that? So I'm really glad. I mean, I got to give him, I got to give my man credit here for starting this company. I mean, and he was showing it it's fantastic. I mean, I was really blown away by it last night of what he can do and what he's done for the student athlete. And the thing is they deserve it. And it's not even always, because normally you think about sports, you think about college, you think about football. It's not all about football. It's about girls too. It's about girls sports. It's about anything. So that's the thing that makes it great. If you're willing to put in, you put in the work. It just don't come to you like that. And like Jonathan, he puts in the work. He puts in the work for it. So.
And how exciting that it's challenging his business acumen and his creativity and his mind to be coming up with designs, and then working with your family has got to be incredible. I mean, what has that experience been like?
Yeah, I try to get them to buy as much gear as they can. Short answer right there. But also, yeah, I'll tell them, like, my cousins, like people that don't even, live in Texas, but people that have supported me. I've thrown the link in my Instagram bio, and, I ended up getting paid royalties off of that as well, in terms of we get paid quarterly with the Influxer app.
We get paid
monthly, my bad. Yeah. So get paid monthly off of that. And so for me, like just being able to actually advocate for something that I truly believe in and also get paid off of it, and, they're wearing my brand, my clothing, I think that's just kind of preparing me for the next level, which is really cool.
And I would imagine when you're going somewhere to get a job in corporate America and you have that sort of portfolio to present, look at this idea, look how I grew it, look at the money that we made. I mean, you're really kind of ahead of the curve. So that's why I think this is so fascinating. One of my favorite 30 for 30s, and we talked about it, was Pony Excess. And you told me that people had been reaching out to you for years and you just didn't feel it was the right time or the right fit to share your story. Why did you do it when you did it? Because I think the timing was great. That guy did an amazing job on that piece.
Daddy did a great job on that. One thing is, I've never been a snitch. I would never turn on my school. I mean, and it was times when I was frustrated because just watching what they were doing, not putting stepping forward to, help our football program. I just thought it was a bad look, and I criticized them. And then they got mad at people. I mean, hey, the truth is the truth. You might not like it, but it's the truth. I just felt like, I'm sorry, so what's the question again? I went on that rant.
Why did you decide to share your story when you did?
Well, people had asked me several times about, the Trans Am. And I would say, my grandmother bought it. My grandmother bought it. But in a sense, she really did. And I would go no further with that. What did you get at SMU? I said, man, I didn't get much at all. Nothing. I didn't get nothing. I said, I got an education. Man, come on now, tell me. I said, no. And I won't forget when Thaddeus called me. I don't know how he got my number. June had gave it to him. I didn't know. He texted me about doing something on SMU football, blah, blah. I never replied. And then June Jones called me and said, Eric, hey, it's a guy reaching out to you named Thaddeus. He wants to talk to you about, what happened at SMU, blah, blah. He's going to do a really good documentary on it. I said, did he go to SMU? He said he went to SMU. I said, okay, I'll call him back. So I called him back. I talked to him. and I liked his approach. And I won't forget, he had called Craig, and Craig, and I called. I said, Craig, I said, "The guy called you named Thaddeus?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I won't call him back." And so I told him, I said, "Talk to him." I said, "I talked to him." I said, "He's trying to help our program," and so that's how it got started. Because, and I just wanted us to be back to where we were when we played. I mean, I think everyone wants your university to win, but when you're a part of it, like, he was a part of Baylor football, Tyler was, and when you're winning, you're so proud. I mean, you're so proud of your university. I mean, I live in Southern California. I'm going to the USC game sometimes with my friends Marcus Allen and Ronnie Lott, and I'm like, look at this. I mean, I said we could have this. I mean, and I was just really frustrated. I wanted, and then that's why I'm telling the story. I did my book and I told the story, like the 30 for 30, and I'm glad I did. I mean, because people were intrigued by it, and then they liked it, and that was kind of it.
Over the years, have you found that other players have admitted that they were doing just as much, if not worse, than SMU?
They admitted it to us when we were playing. It was like, what you get, what you got, Everybody talked about it. Do you think Texas wasn't doing it? We knew the guys would take what they were getting. And the funny thing is they picked us out. A&M was doing it. Mm-hmm. I got to tell you a story. A guy from Alabama told me, he said, you know how we were doing it? And I got it like, wow, that was smart. So how they would do it in Alabama.
See, this is why you guys came here today.
In Alabama. And the killing part is, Alabama, we don't have to do that. Everybody does it. So he says that, let's just say your mom or your grandmother, it's a casino in Mississippi, they'd go to casino. Miss Jones, we got this slot machine right here for you. Okay, cool. Slot machine, hit it a couple times. Boom, 100,000. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Grandma, hit 100,000.
She's so lucky every time she goes.
I say, man, that's slick. But that's how they did it. So everybody had a way of doing it. I mean, I got to say for us, the death penalty came because of guys talking.
Yeah.
And that was the downfall of SMU.
But now there's no difference in what they're doing now versus what they were doing.
I want to ask you. So let me ask you: does the NCAA, do they hate you? I'm sure they don't like you,
Keith.
Well, is it because
they like us?
Well, is it?
Are you making them some money too?
We have to be Switzerland.
Oh, I heard that.
But there's transparency, right? Instead of it being in the dark, you guys aren't hiding it anymore. It's in theory.
Well, and what our platform does differently is we're providing actual name, image, and likeness opportunities. Like the players are making what they're worth, right? And through social media promotion, through the brand building. So that is why I would say the NCAA likes us, plus our ex-compliance officer, vice president, Keith over there, has great relationships over there. Because you want to have their support and their involvement, right? Like the universities and the institutions, they make revenue as well.
Well, and doesn't it help to have that official logo? And it's helping them because it's getting their brand awareness out there, but you're also getting the benefit of being able to have it legitimized.
And the big difference here is that NCAA is important, universities are important, but student athletes are the most important. Right, so that's the priority list for us. What is in the best interest of the student athlete, and then we can work down from there of how it works best for the universities and the NCAA conferences and higher institutions.
Given the opportunity for college athletes now, are you seeing more and more of your friends choosing to stick around an extra year or two? One of it is obviously playing time, but being able to monetize that image and likeness as long as you can. And then I'll follow up with you. Does that help to take an extra year or two before getting to the league versus sitting on the bench? Or
yeah, 100%. I was a guy, so I'm going on this is my 6th year of college now. I ended up getting that COVID year, and I ended up breaking my foot before the season started, my junior season, and got a medical for that year. And so I'm exhausting all my eligibility this year, but I had conversations last season where I could have went out and tried to get into the NFL and do all of those things, and ended up having conversations with guys that were in a similar position as myself. And a lot of us kind of talked about it and how, collectives are paying athletes and how you can get NIL and things of that nature. We're like, well, I mean, summer workouts aren't that bad, right? So, like, when you look at it that way and, getting the opportunity to, still stay in college, still get a degree. Some guys on our team are, I think, even going for, 2-3 degrees when they're all said and done with college is pretty beneficial. And I think that guys aren't, thinking of college as, okay, like I got to get out as fast as possible. Now it's, okay, let me go when the timing is right and you don't feel like you're rushed to make a decision.
Yes, I think that's important because a lot of these young men, they've rushed out to get into the National Football, thinking, they listen to these agents. Oh, you're going to be a first-round draft pick. No doubt. And then you don't get drafted, and it's hard to make it in the NFL. It's only a few guys. It's only a few spots for DBs, only a few spots for running backs, receivers. So to me, I feel like if you can stay in college that much longer and if you have eligibility and you can make the money, because if you do make the NFL, it's always better. I wish I could have came out of college with, let's just say, $100,000. That'd have been great. Or an NIL deal where I've got something like a merchandising deal. I'm doing merchandising or whatever. I got a water company that I'm dealing with. That you've made such a brand that when you get to the NFL, in a sense you don't even need the money, but you need it. You want it. You want to play, but you don't really need it. Matter of fact, there's a kid in California, and I went to watch him play a couple of weeks ago. He had committed to Florida State. Florida State was going to give him $1.5 million to play. So, but you know what happened? Michigan came to him, offered him $10 million for 4 years. So I said, boy, you better take that money.
Yeah.
You take that money. I mean, because I just think it's such a great deal. I mean, it really is. And I think that, it's going to help the players in the long run. I just believe that it'll set them up. They'll have something when they get out of college if you do it right. Now, if you do it wrong, you won't. But the NFL is not a guarantee.
Well, and then again, bringing it back to what you said, Tyler, I mean, this isn't just NFL player, future NFL players. This is tennis players. This is, people that are in the equestrians department, things along those lines that you can, set up yourself with enough work and enough putting yourself out there. I mean, it's a marketing internship, in my opinion, on some levels that you're able to monetize. Where would you like to see this company go, Tyler?
Oh, we just want to be known as the NIL platform and the NIL infrastructure for all student athletes, universities, and even the NCAA and conferences. Like, we believe we fill such a void in the NIL market because you have your top 1% that are taken care of. You have your Livy Dunns, they're going to do great. What about the other 99% that aren't going to go pro, or even the ones that do go pro? You talk about being able to make some financial mistakes or learn some lessons while you're in college that aren't going to affect you when you're making millions in the league. So to answer your question, where we want this company to go is to be the go-to NIL resources. We want every single student athlete on our platform, and we also want to take it beyond college. I'll leave it at that.
What are still some of the blind spots, you think?
Oh, great question. Blind spots. Education. I think it still comes down to that. I think there's a lot of universities and a lot of student athletes that don't get adequate education to understand that there's opportunities out there, or go door knocking, go out in your local community, do that outreach. I think there's a bad misconception that just because you play at one of these sports, or that isn't football or basketball, or you go to this school nobody's really heard of outside of your family, that you can't make opportunities happen. I mean, Instagram is the new LinkedIn. Right? Your personal brand. People are going to look at your Instagram more than they're going to look at your LinkedIn if you're coming out of college. So let's make that look good. Let's make that look professional. And let's fill that with lots of good content. And we need to do our job at Influxer of providing these tools and resources, because there's not many people out there, because it is such a new industry.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel like that college needs the NCAA? I mean, like, do you need them?
Oh, we're going to stir things up in here.
I've always said, what do you need the NCAA for? I mean, excuse my mouth, they're like a bunch of pimps. I mean, they are. I mean, they sit on the side and make all the money and do nothing. What do they do? I mean, I always felt like, even when we play ball, I said, why don't we just police our own conference? Southwest Conference, you police your conference. SEC, police your conference. ACC, police your conference. What is their purpose? I mean, except pimping, basically. I mean, that's what
I can just see this is now going to be a soundbite. Mac Engel, I saw him walk in here. Eric Dickerson calls the NCAA pimps.
I've said it in interviews. I've said it in interviews. I hate the NCAA because I don't like things that are wrong. I mean, I just don't like crooks, and they to me are just crooks. If it's in some y'all in here, y'all know I think you crooks.
So, in your opinion, how would you, if NCAA?
I'm gonna answer.
Well, I was going to say with NCAA, a necessary evil to sort of sum this thing up. Do you think that they could do a better job of market sharing? I mean, we've already saw the EA suit that came up and the image and likeness there. Where would you see a more perfect vision of an alignment aside from conference? I don't know if conferences governing themselves ultimately will ever get there, but where could you see a meeting in the middle?
I don't see any purpose for the NCAA. I'm sorry, because it's never going to be fair.
Yeah.
There's always be some injustice. I mean, the NCAA is never going to come down on the University of Texas like they came down on SMU. They would never come down on the University of Alabama or the big schools. They're just not going to do it. I mean, they would rather act like it never happened, than do something. So that's why I think you police your own conference. I mean, like I said before, what do you really need them for? I mean, if I can see if they're bringing something to the table, if they're bringing, like we're bringing something, what are they bringing?
The thing that they're bringing,
shining moment.
the thing that they're bringing is they're bringing rules and regulation to the other unjust fairness that does happen within college sports.
Okay, but like I just said earlier, you can do that in your own conference. You can police your own conference. That's my opinion, but I think that
the Big
that was
12, I think, showed us they can't.
Well, back then.
Okay, so the one question I was going to have for you then is like, why have an NFL over an AFC versus an NFC, or like those divisions? If there's not one large controlling body, what would be the alternative?
You're talking about like the commission and all those?
Yeah,
like
the whole governing organization that oversees all of the teams.
They're crooks too.
We got the NFL, the NCAA.
They're a bunch of crooks. I mean, what did we talk about last night? Well, I just told you last night.
Well, a lot of it's off the record.
Let's talk about the NFL. Let's just use the NFL. Okay, NFL.
Now you're going to get me in trouble.
No, it's not. I'm saying it.
I think my PR firm would be happy with how I responded to the NCAA question. Let's move it to the NFL.
See, let's go to the NFL. NFL. See, one thing about the NFL, I know I'm not their favorite. I've always said that. Matter of fact, I won't forget when they voted me to one of the 100 graded players. I'm like, me? I'm shocked. And then they called me and said, Eric, I said, shit, thanks. And then the commissioner called me. I said, thanks, Roger. I said, man, I'm going to tell you, man, I'm shocked. He said, well, I said, I know I'm not one of y'all's favorite. I'm too outspoken for y'all. Because the NFL, let's just say, now this is how the NFL works. I retired in 1994. Now I played 11 years in the National Football League. You have no health care. We're the only sport that does that. Is that fair? No health care at all. Right now, players come into the league. They play. Say you play to your 20. Say you start at 21. You play to you say 31. You retire. You have health care for 5 years. Okay, 5 years. Now what happens when you're 45, 46, and 60? You have no health care. And some guys can't afford health care. The NFL. Everybody doesn't make millions of dollars. It's only on 4 or 5 teams that are guys making life-changing money. Everybody else is just making it, Because if you're making $10 million a year, 9 times out of 10, you're spending $13 million.
And look, as this is my 9th season with the NFL, these are issues that they have certainly been talking about in recent years. They've tried to improve. Outspoken people like yourself have come forward. You've also got the NFL Players Association. So there's always, there you go. There's going to be a balance of that. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are blind spots in a lot of these places. And I think that's why I love discussions like this, is you're sort of bringing it to the forefront. Where can we figure out ways to make this make sense for everybody involved? But I think what we're learning over the couple of years is not one entity or one person should get the lion's share of the profits, whether that be at the professional level or the collegiate level. And that's why I love that Influxer is kind of filling in the gaps there.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I say, Tyler, I mean, like I said last night, Tyler, man, your company, when I saw it, it was just, I was blown away by it. I really, because I'd never heard of it.
Thank you.
I'd never seen anything like it. I'm like, I'm so happy that these players are getting an opportunity that we never had, and players before us never had. Like I said before, you would, if a guy would take you out to dinner, a former NFL player take a kid out to dinner, and they would be blackballed. I mean, you couldn't play. I mean, they put them on suspension. And I just think, wow, I mean, it's like you can get no help anywhere. And to me, this is helping these young players.
How hard was it to, before we wrap up, because I actually am curious about this, when you were approached about the $500 that you would get, how did that make you feel as a young athlete when you feel like you're sort of doing something illicit, but you're also wanting to help your family? Like, I've always been, it's predatory, a lot of the stuff that was going on, and that's why I love the fact that NIL is more transparent these days. But what was that like for players on your team, and to your point, kind of keeping this sort of shameful secret?
I mean, honestly, it was no shameful secret because we all kind of knew what each other got. Like how everybody on our team had cars.
Yeah.
The most money I ever was offered, never saw it, came from another school. I came from Texas A&M. I'll never forget it. My mother said to me, she said, my great aunt who raised me, they came in, and Sealy's an A&M town, Aggie town, and so she came to me, and they had the guys in the front, and I was in the back talking to one of the recruiters, and she said, Eric, let me talk to you back here. I said, yes, ma'am. And my mother she would think that she was fair. She says, these white men came in here with a briefcase with $50,000 in it.
Wow.
That's 1978. She said, I've never seen that much money in my whole life, cash. She said, but I'm going to tell you something. If you don't want to go to that school, I'm going to take these people's money. And I didn't want to go. A&M's a good school, but I'm going to tell you, you know why I didn't like A&M? It's funny, when you're a kid, you think like a kid. I didn't like them helmets, their ugly-ass logo. I didn't like that. I didn't like the uniform, and I didn't like they had yell leaders. I'm like, how about some cheerleaders?
Listen.
I mean, that was just me.
As a Texas alum, I don't hate what you're saying up here.
And I like to say, A&M's a great school. My cousin went to A&M. He played football there. But that's why I didn't want to go to A&M. But, like I said, things have really changed a lot. But I can say, for me, taking that little bit of money, my mom was an older woman. I was legally adopted. She was in her 70s, like maybe 60s, like in her 60s. And I'm trying to help her. My dad had passed away. I'm trying to help her the little bit I could. Like sometimes I send all the money back home. I mean, it wasn't like I got rich, and it wasn't like that. That's why I think it's a great deal what Tyler's doing and Jonathan, you're doing for your family, man, because, we didn't have these kind of opportunities. And I'm not praying poor because, I mean, thank God I played in the National Football League, and it gave me a good living. It gave me the things that I have now. But I still remember where I came from, and that's me. And look, I'm brutally honest. They knew before I came up here. Don't ask me no questions.
I love it.
If you ask me,
are you guys
truth,
bored? I'm not bored. I could listen to him for 2 more hours.
Well, Eric, everything you've just said, I mean, that's why NIL exists, is because you've been outspoken and you've been an inspiration to a lot of people because you will tell the truth, tell it how it is, call out whoever, and make change happen. And I think everyone would agree in here that if it weren't for you, NIL probably still wouldn't be passed. Maybe it's a 2030 thing. Maybe it was kicked down the road. But you sparked change on your 30 for 30, doing events like this, being an advocate for paying players is what makes change. And so I didn't get to enjoy it, unfortunately.
You absolutely shook things up.
But John and others have done.
Thank you. Thank you for having the wherewithal and the idea to set this up, because if it wasn't for you, Tyler, stuff like this wouldn't happen. We'd still be talking about it. I mean, it'd still be like they made giving money to kids that really needed it like a dirty secret, like we were doing something really, really bad, and they weren't.
I know, the only industry in the world where people weren't getting paid for what they're worth. No other job works like that.
Before we wrap it up, any final thoughts from you, Tyler?
Thank y'all for joining.
All right. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. I hope you guys learned a lot of I was very interested in the conversation. Eric, I know that he hates the NCAA. That was fun. Can't wait to see the articles from the Dallas Morning News and Fort Worth Star Telegram come out tomorrow. But seriously, it was so nice meeting you and everything that you're doing, including your family. And thank you guys for having me here today. And I'm sure they'll be hanging around if you guys want to ask them any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.